So this is just a brief flow chart of what happens when you submit a paper. And those of you who have been through the process are probably familiar with this. But publishers play a role in all of these steps. During the submission process, we are a trusted brand of journals, so people submit based on their view of those journals. They want to make sure it's well known. They want to make sure it's something that their peers are reading. They want to make sure it's rigorous. And then we also maintain our online submission system. So we actually have a good group of people who do that. During the peer review process, the publishers are the liaison between all of the parties, including the reviewers and the author and the editor. So we support all of our editors who are making the decisions. We make sure that our decisions are neutral and fair, and to maintain the integrity of the literature. So this is kind of the boring bit. So this is the editing and the typesetting. It's making your paper look pretty. And then at this point, when readers, your article is disseminated to the readers, we have an online hosting system that we maintain and that we try to make sure is easy to use and gets you the information that you need as quickly as possible. We can promote your paper sometimes, so we have blogs and we have different ways that articles are promoted. We make sure that it's accessible, and we make sure that it's perpetually available. Like I said, you want to make sure that's going to stay, especially now in the electronic age. There are backup systems. So if the RSC website just disappeared tomorrow, our papers would automatically be available from these archiving systems. And like I said, promoting your article. So this is what happens, a little bit more detail about what happens when you submit a manuscript. So it will go to the editorial office and there will be an initial assessment. At that point, about 20% of our papers are rejected without external review. So sometimes people just say rejected without review, but these have been looked at by the editor. So it's not just like they're kicking it back out without even looking at your article. It has been assessed. It's been reviewed by the editor who receives it. But it may just not fit with the journal into the subject matter that they're looking for, or it might not quite be to the level of novelty that we're looking for. If it passes that step, then it's sent out for peer review. At least 2 reports for most of our journals are required. It comes back to the editor, and the editor takes a look at those reports and makes the final decision. If the reviews are mixed and they're not sure whether they should accept the paper or not, they'll often consult with the editorial board or our advisory boards to get a third opinion. And then at that point, it's either accepted or rejected. And so actually, these numbers actually might be a little bit out of date. These might be from a year or 2 ago, because we've definitely started to tighten up our acceptance rate. But about 35% over the whole portfolio are accepted. If your paper is rejected, you can appeal. But only about 15% of those are successful. So you can come back to the editor and say, well, we felt that the reviews didn't really reflect what was actually in the paper, or if you have a rebuttal to one of the things that the reviewers has said, and your paper will be considered, but there is a fairly low chance that it'll actually be accepted after that point. One thing that we do as part of this process, and we have been trying to do more of, is transfer papers. So if we feel like it doesn't fit in one of our journals, we can offer it a transfer to one of our other journals, sometimes without re-review. So sometimes it's enough that the 2 reviews from the initial journal it was submitted to can be looked at by the new editors, and the paper can be accepted, but sometimes those editors might want to send things out again just to make sure it fits in that particular journal. There's 2 models of peer review, or peer review process, I guess. So on the right here, this is what we call the associate editor model. And this is the model that is used by some of our journals. So our flagship Chemical Science uses this. All of your manuscripts would be handled by associate editors, which are scientists who are also professors, or some of them are in industry. All of the ACS journals are also handled in this way. On the right is what we call a professional editor peer review. And so these are people who are employed by the publisher. They do have a science background. They are experts in the fields, but the decisions are made by people employed by the publisher. And so some of our journals are like that. And the Nature journals and Angewandte, for example, are also journals that the decisions are all made in-house.